I'm trying to get better at celebrating the small wins. Like maybe it wasn't the win that I wanted, or because I can be very high goal achieving. So celebrating those wins even when they're not what I want them to be.
I think just having that support and, even if you're not married, just finding a friend or a family member or something to help you make it through those times, because truly some of the toughest moments in my life, I don't know how I would have gotten through without, the support of somebody that I was close to.
This episode is brought to you by Hello You Boutique. Looking for that perfect gift that speaks volumes? Aren't we all? Hello You Boutique is your go-to destination for personalized engraved gifts and business merchandise. Hello You Boutique specializes in crafting custom engraved items that add a touch of elegance to any occasion. From personalized keychains and cutting boards to branded corporate gifts, they've got something for everyone. Visit HelloYouBoutique.com today to explore their variety of products and conveniently place your order online. Can't find exactly what you're envisioning? No worries. Reach out to them at info@HelloYouBoutique.com and their friendly staff will work with you to create something truly special. Make your next gift-giving moment unforgettable with Hello You Boutique, because every detail counts when it comes to showing someone you care. Welcome to our community. Thank you for joining us on the Uncommon Success Podcast. My name is Andy Coats, and I'm the host of this fun podcast. And I'm joined by the wonderful co-host of mine, Brinly Foxall.
Yes, we love what we do, and today you're listening to not episode 1, not 2, but episode 16.
Episode 16.
But we're very excited about that, and today we are going to be discussing how to find success in hard times.
Yeah, and today we're going to be mixing it up a little bit here in our format. We have a familiar face or voice, depending on how you're joining us today in the studio. Shana Overton, who's helped us as a co-host before on an episode, is on the podcast today joining us for some roundtable discussion over this topic. And so welcome back to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
back.
glad to have you back.
Yes, we're so glad you're here.
Yeah, and here in a moment we're going to be diving into your story a little bit, have you tell us some more about you, but also we're gonna look at this topic. But first, want to catch up a little bit just with everyone, all three of us, just catch up a little bit on what's been happening in your lives this week. Just for a new little segment I like to add in that we're going to call Double Positive. All right, so 2 positives or exciting things that have happened this week in your life or in your family's lives. So just sharing 2 positive things that have taken place in your life this week. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
All right, go
we
for
had
it.
field day on Friday.
Okay.
And it was so fun because the kids love field day. And I'm one of the parents that love the funny moments. I love when they win, but I love the funny moments. So my 7-year-old is in the tug of war, and they're tugging and they're warring, and then all of a sudden they start pummeling on top of each other, and then it looks like it's over, but then one kid knees my daughter in the head and her bow is lost, and it was quite humorous. I was like, this is great stuff. So I live for the bloopers of field day.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I mean, and my son won. He did really well in his 40-yard dash. He got third. He almost got second, so he was a little salty, but
yeah,
he got third. I mean, I was like, celebrate it. Celebrate the win. So that was fun. What about you guys?
That's a good positive there. What you got? Something positive maybe happened in your week this week.
So this is going to sound really silly probably to most people, but my broccoli plants are growing. And so
have they not been growing?
Well,
so
it's my first year to have a vegetable garden.
Okay.
Yay.
And my goal was just for one thing to live out of all the things we planted, and there's these heads of broccoli coming up on the plants,
Yes.
and I'm so excited that I didn't kill them. So that's been my little positive moment of the week.
Awesome.
Same broccoli party at your house.
That might be a party I don't show up for.
I'll show up.
I mean, I love parties, but I just don't know that a broccoli
I know
party
broccoli's
is one.
super boring. So, but I'm very excited about it.
You can air fry it, steam
There's
it.
so many options. Roast it.
Regular fry.
I mean,
There's nothing boring about broccoli. We could be here all day.
You have to do a lot of things to broccoli to make broccoli not boring.
That's true.
Well, something positive this week in my world. I've been doing some different author events that just with children's activities and stuff, and author signings for book signing things. And this week I did a school author visit where I got to go to an elementary school, actually it's a private school, but went to an assembly with their elementary kids. And when I arrived, they're like, hey, we're going to need you to extend this out for a little bit because the local news station's coming out doing this big deal for the school, and we want to make sure we get you on it. And I said, okay, well, how long? I was supposed to do like 30 to 45 minutes, and it's 8:30 in the morning. Like, well, they're coming at 9:30, so if you can extend it out past that. And I was like, well, you picked the right guy to just sit and talk for a long time. But it was a whole lot of fun. Got the kids involved in some different activities of doing some storytelling, and they loved it and just had a really fun time. So that was real fun. All right, so it's double positive. So give me another quick one, another fun. You did
My
did
son
field day.
he won the race,
Oh, so
like
that's
third place.
That's the double side.
2.
Okay, so field day and winning there. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
That's double.
Yours was broccoli and
Broccoli and I'm trying to think. Let's see. Oh, we had my van got totaled this week from the flood.
I don't think you understand what positive means.
Did you? But
No, okay,
is it
okay.
the insurance money? Because that can't be a good thing.
We were actually wanting to get a new vehicle anyway, and
Okay.
so the way that it all panned out, it really seemed like a really negative thing that turned into a really great thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, our van getting totaled ended up being a really great thing for
New
us.
car, yeah.
Yeah, so they live out in
Yeah.
the country and near the lake. And when the
Yeah.
lake flooded, they had a lake in front of their
It
house.
flooded.
So
Did
We
y'all
had fish jumping in the front yard.
Yeah, I was
so
going to ask
it
if
was
you saw that
intense.
video on the Love Shreveport site where the catfish is like swimming in the parking lot. Like I was like, you could
Didn't see
literally
that.
go like noodling in the
Yeah.
parking lot.
wow, you could do that in their front yard.
Yeah.
They were chest deep walking
Yes.
to their house, having to take a kayak back and forth. So
Yeah.
Pretty-
Jake did
pretty wild and
actually
crazy.
he did fish a little bit. Yeah.
From the
Didn't
front
catch
porch.
anything,
Did
but
your
yeah.
house get flooded?
Our house did not get flooded, thankfully.
This was
Yeah.
this was a stretch. Find 2 positives on the
Yeah.
week that your
That your
entire van
house
got
gets
flooded and you're having a kayak to your house.
That's why she started out with broccoli.
I was like,
My broccoli
Not
didn't
exciting.
drown. My broccoli didn't drown.
exactly.
Broccoli survived.
Yeah, my broccoli survived. Pretty
That's
happy.
awesome. And my second one for me is my sister's asked me to build a deck for her by their pool, and I've been doing that kind of when I could find some time, and that project is now complete. So that
Yes.
was nice to
Yes, now you have some extra
get
time to
that
come help us on our
done.
deck.
So
Perfect. Yes.
turns out that changing subject here. But yeah, so just some positives. Hey, if you're listening, I think it's just a great exercise sometimes just as a reminder, even in the midst
Yeah.
of some craziness in our life, just to think about those positive things. I was even reminded that when my wife and I were talking with Jake and Shana this morning and them sharing about the positive out of that crazy flood situation. So that's awesome. So if you are listening, it's a great exercise. And we're going to be hopefully doing that in the future, just adding some positive conversation into the mix just to catch up with everyone. So this is going to be a fun episode for us.
Yes, Shana, we are so excited to have you on and to start with your story. If you can give us the overview of who you are, where you're from, your family, your passions, your life's mission. I know that is a whole lot of things, but walk us through all things Shana.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm married to Jake. We are high school sweethearts. We are about to celebrate our 15-year anniversary, so exciting milestone. We have known each other since we were in diapers. We're both born and raised in Central Texas, but we've been here pretty much for the entirety of our marriage. And we have 3 girls, Ellie, Emma, Everly. They are 11, 8, and 7.
Nice.
And I homeschool them, and so that's really what a lot of my time is spent doing, is educating my children. And 2 of my girls are competitive gymnasts, so that's really where the other half of my life is spent, in the gym with them. Let's see here.
Homeschool mom, gym mom, you're just...
All the things.
Can you do gymnastics? Like, can you do it with
Oh,
them?
no. I get asked that all the time if I have some sort of background in gymnastics, and I have none. I played just about every other sport under the sun, as well as Jake too, but gymnastics is not in either of our backgrounds.
No one will ever test that. And, when we were growing up, there wasn't the video footage. So that just needs to be your answer from here on
Yeah,
out.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it,
Yeah,
but
I don't.
yes.
Just like to stay humble.
I got injured in college. I was about to go pro, but
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Got hurt in college.
Yeah.
Doing gymnastics? No.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really kind of what my life revolves around right now, is my kids. But I mean, it's great, and that's my choice. But other than that, my passions are, I love home organizing. Again, all the boring things really in life are what I feel like I enjoy. Just the simple pleasures of life. We were just talking about chickens. I love chickens, and I think I saw a meme recently about things that make you have feelings of power, like whether it's money or fame or whatever. And then the other one was like your chickens coming to you when you call for them. It gives me feelings of power. And so, yeah, chickens are my passion. And let's see here. I just started vegetable gardening. I'm really getting into that.
And your broccoli is
My broccoli
working
is
out
just
right now.
going
So
so
good.
well. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything I'm missing?
No, so tell us a little bit, like getting from Central Texas to Shreveport, the Shreveport-Bossier area. What brought you to this area?
Let's see here. So Jake went to college at East Texas Baptist, and I was at Mary Hardin Baylor in Central Texas at the time when we were dating, and then got engaged. And then we kind of had to make a decision. We're going to stay in Texas, or are we going to stay, which even though he was going to school in East Texas, he spent a lot of time here. He was doing a summer ministry camp every summer, doing the ministry camps, and we just kind of ended up here somehow in Shreveport. I switched over to LSUS, finished my business degree there. He finished his degree there at East Texas Baptist. And then we got married and somehow just ended up staying here. Even though we don't have family here or anything, we just have such a strong community here.
Yeah.
And it's honestly really what's kept us here.
It's the best place on earth.
That's awesome. Well, appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story with us.
Yeah.
We're going to jump into the topic here in just a moment, but it was great just having you on the podcast. You're not a guest. You're officially, you've been co-hosting with us, but wanted to hear your story a little bit.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was so good, and I can't wait to hear even more about your story as it unfolds. But we're going to transition to our roundtable discussion, and today we are talking about finding success in hard times. Andy, can you let us know what you're thinking for today's format?
Yeah, well, here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to moderate our discussion. Typically, Brinly and I will go back and forth interviewing a guest, but since we're doing roundtable discussion style, we're all going to kind of pitch in on this topic, just having some discussion today. And so I'll moderate our discussion and ask the questions, and then anyone can kind of chime in whenever. So if you have a thought, we want to build off of a thought. We may spend more time on one question than we do others, and that's fine, but just spending some time talking through these questions. We've all been through some difficult times, and so we want to talk about how do you find success during those hard times. So whenever it feels right, just feel free to jump in on that question. For you guys, what do you feel is your life's purpose? So if we're finding success in hard times, I believe that is significantly found around making sure I know what my purpose is, so that in difficult times I know how to find. So just looking at what is in your life, what would you say is your purpose? What you think, personally?
Those are some deep questions.
They are
Deep questions.
Deep questions. Well, I mean, going back to that idea of success in hard times, it kind of, for me, even goes to that life purpose. If I can think of it in context to my situation or context to where I'm at, success or even fulfilling my purpose is going to be achieving those goals or achieving that finish line for that season. So if I'm going through a really hard time and, getting like atomic habits, how they talk about just lacing your shoelaces each day for the workout. Now, if that's the season I'm in and I lace my shoelaces, well, that's success. So like really looking into success would be putting in context to those hard times. What is that achievement that I can do today? And as far as a life purpose, I don't have like a statement. I mean, it's to follow Jesus and to serve him with all of my heart. But
That's a good one. I mean, like if that's what,
yeah, but if it's business or whatever, I think for me it changes. I like micro purposes, so that because I'm ADD, like I can't just have one statement for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's just overwhelming. I've got to have like a statement for now or a statement for this arena. So, anyways,
How about for you? Do you have a defined statement of what you'd say this is my life's purpose? Or
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
don't. I don't have a defined purpose, but kind of like Brinley was saying, it kind of feels like it's circumstantial and seasonal, whatever that purpose is or whatever I'm trying to accomplish. But one of the things that kind of popped up in my mind was John 10:10. It's my favorite verse. But just Jesus talking about what he did come for was to give us life and give it abundantly. And I would say I'm a very present-minded person. I think one of my flaws is actually I'm not very good at looking towards the future and making big plans or goals. I'm just very in the moment. But I think one of the strengths in that too is whenever you are facing difficult times, it's like, okay, in this moment, I don't have tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised. And so what can I take out of this moment? What is the silver lining? And this kind of like with our van flooding, it's just, I try to be, whenever I'm anxious or in a situation that is really difficult like that, I try so hard to find the silver lining or find what good can I take away from the situation. I'm not naturally that way, but I try really hard to strive for that. So I guess the other part of that for me with purpose is, although a lot of my goals or purpose or finding success is seasonal or circumstantial, I think one of the things in my life that makes me feel like I have purpose is really meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that you can really tie that into difficult times, just sharing in difficult times with other people. I don't know. I just think there's so much there for encouragement and compassion. And so just, I think the big thing would just be silver lining for me.
Yeah, maybe it could just even be the differences of how we, even male and female, because like for me, mine is very much I have a life purpose, I feel like, which is to be a person of influence and resource. Yeah. So if you ask me what's your purpose, is to be a person of influence and resource. And that's looked different in different seasons for me. But like that for me, I think it helps keep me grounded in the moment. Next question here, it's what strategies do you use to stay connected to that purpose, that calling, your passions during those difficult seasons? So what strategies do you use to stay connected to that? So let's talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, again, with it being seasonal for me, because right now I really feel like my purpose at this moment in time, and for several years now, has been my kids. My kids are my ministry.
Right.
And it is a choice that you have to make every single day, especially with homeschooling. I think one of the things that keeps me connected to my purpose is asking myself a lot of times why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's very easy to get burnout. I love my girls so much, but there is real burnout with being a stay-at-home mom or being a homeschool mom or just being a mom in general. Right. And, working away from your kids, it's still very demanding no matter what it is that you're doing. But I think for me, one of the things that I do is I have just, again, a community of people who also homeschool, have very like-minded values and goals. And I just reach out to them and say, hey, I really want to throw the towel in today. Tell me why I don't need to do that. Yeah. And so for me, I think it's just, again, community and relationships really help keep me grounded.
Yeah, that's good. What do you think, strategy-wise?
A couple of things. I'm trying to get better at celebrating the small wins. Like maybe it wasn't the win that I wanted, or because I can be very high goal achieving. So celebrating those wins even when they're not what I want them to be. I have a declaration, so that's something we've. Philip, he was the pastor of our church, still one of our leadership pastors, really coached me in building my declaration that I read every day. So I have that, and that kind of brings me back to my mission and my purpose and the things that I want to follow. And then I would say one of the big things that I do is let me feel those emotions. Like if I'm upset, just feel it sit in it, feel it. This is just where I am right now, but not to stay there. Yeah. So sometimes I just need to sit down and watch a Hallmark movie, and that's just where I am. But I can't, the next morning or whatever time period I've put on it. Okay, but we can't sit here. We got to move on. But let's have a moment. Because the times I don't let myself have those moments are the times that I get burned out and find myself deeper in those feelings than where I wanted to be.
Yeah. I once heard one of the leadership coaches I listened to say that burnout doesn't really exist. Burnout is usually where we just have stayed stuck in a place for so long, we just don't have a solution out. We call it burnout because we feel like we have no other, but we've stayed in it for so long that, so I love that one having the declaration, but then allowing yourself to be in that moment, because usually what happens is we get so stuck in that moment trying to pretend like that moment doesn't exist and it doesn't deal with the problem. But if you can say, I need to deal with this moment and I'm going to be in it for a second and then move on.
Yeah.
I think one of those strategies for me that like I think helps me to stay connected to it, one is a reminder. I love that declaration idea of like that constant reminder for ourselves. But I think for me it's having a spouse, so part of that community even who I talk that out with is here's what I'm aiming for, here's where I'm going, here's what we're trying to accomplish, and that putting it at the forefront so that it keeps my eyes focused on the bigger picture. Because what's really easy to do, you and I talked several weeks ago, Brinly, about spinning multiple plates, and you get so many things going in life that it's hard to stay, to be reminded of why am I doing this?
Right.
We look up and we're like, I've done all these things, but why?
Yeah.
You know, like I've gone all these different directions, done these things, but has it even mattered? So I think just reminding ourselves for me that helps, reminding why I'm doing it, putting it out there. I'm not the kind of guy that says I have to have a why to necessarily do something, but I want to understand myself. Did it accomplish anything?
Right.
Did it matter? Those kind of things. So those little strategies, I think, and even if you're listening, I think reminding yourself the community is a huge piece. Like I don't know what I would do without having people around me to bounce things off during the difficult times, because that sometimes you need that external person who reminds you when you can't see it yourself.
Yeah,
that's
for
probably
sure.
been some of the hardest things I think in leading. It's like you may not see, does this matter?
Yeah.
Or why am I doing this? And having those people around you definitely makes a big difference. Any other thoughts on some strategies or even suggestions that maybe have helped you during those difficult times?
I was just going to add to what you were just saying. Even whenever I do reach out to those people, I'm very intentional about who I reach out to.
Oh, that's good.
And I try to ask people who are not like me and who don't process the same way that I do. I try to ask people who are better at being objective and non-emotional and just a totally different perspective, because maybe I'm missing something.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's real easy to get in your own head, and then people who think like you want to seem like you're not crazy. So you're like, you think like I do. Please tell me I'm not crazy.
Tell me I'm not crazy, yeah.
So let's introduce now into the equation the actual hard times. So life just smacks us in the face sometimes. I don't know about you ladies, but life smacks me in the face a lot. Like small slaps to big slaps. It just hits us. And we face hard times, difficult times. Some we can control. Some's our fault. Some catch us off guard. We don't even know why they're there. So I'm curious, what's been probably one of the biggest life hurdles that life has hit you with and rattled you, all of us, I guess. Just kind of sharing our big, as you think back on your life, what was the biggest thing that hit and kind of shook you to the core, to the foundation? I'll start with this one, if y'all are okay with me kicking off here. I can remember for the longest time, I wanted to be able to I felt like I was supposed to have a consistent, steady place to settle down. And Christy and I, we being in ministry for many years, we'd be at a church for four to 5 years, and I'm a mover and shaker, and I like to lift the rug up on problems and issues. And that usually keeps you around so long. People don't like you to expose problems.
Right.
So we've been in several churches over the years and realized, hey, this season has come to a close. And we found ourselves, we were in a place where I'd made the decision where I said, I am never coming back to Shreveport ever again, no matter what. And Christy and I went for a walk one day, and she's like, what if we're supposed to be in Shreveport? And because of your stubbornness, you're just refusing to go back. What if that's where we're supposed to be? And it rattled me to the very core, because I thought, man, I'm just trying to advance and want to, settle down somewhere. And I know if I'm in Shreveport, I'll probably end up settling down. And I I refuse that idea of wanting to settle. But it's so interesting that we made that decision. We ended up in Shreveport. We moved off again and then came back to Shreveport. And one of the things I found was like, this is a great place for us where we have a solid, consistent community. But that moment rattled me because I thought, I'm trying to go anywhere but here.
Right.
And now I'm realizing me saying that kind of slapped me in the face. I didn't see it coming because I was dead set on I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that was a big rattling moment for me. Now, I've had several others, but that was a big one that it caught me off guard because I was like, I'm trying to get out of here.
Yeah.
Here I am coming back. But what about for you ladies? So maybe something that hit hard maybe it's whatever for you. What do you think? Hard times.
Yeah, so not to make this like super sad and depressing, but I mean, honestly, it was the death of my mom.
Okay.
I mean, just totally shook me up. I mean, probably the first major death of somebody that, I was very close to. And she had cancer for several years. She's been gone for almost 4 years now. But just the whole process of just watching her suffer for so long, it really messed me up for a long time. And just trying to work my faith out through that was and still is very difficult to this day.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've been consistently working through for years now, that it really, honestly, I feel like it's kind of changed the course of just my future and my thoughts about, I don't know, it's hard to even articulate it, but yeah, that would definitely be something that I've struggled through for years now.
Yeah. One of those things you don't really see coming, don't
Right.
expect it to happen. And
Yeah.
Yeah. What for you?
Well, I'm trying to think. I don't know that I have a specific story to share right now, but when I look at some of the hardest times in my life, there seems to be this common thread of putting my identity in all the wrong places. So I think this last year I've really been going through, like, really, who am I and what is my identity in? Because in ministry, there's been often times where I've put it in what people say about me. And when those people don't think that highly of you, or maybe stab you in the back or whatever, that's happened several times. I've come back to this place of who am I? And so without like sharing a bunch of stories, I think that my hardest times in life are when I realized my identity was in someone else's hands and not in God's.
Yeah.
And really waiting for that person to say, you are ready for this, or you are worthy of this, or you are qualified, or you are good. And when you don't hear that, or they say the opposite, that kind of shatters you a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so I've just been looking throughout all of my life and realizing it's been a pattern of holding myself back because waiting on someone else's approval. And so I think my hardest times are threaded through my identity to be in someone else's hands and not God's, and not what He's called him to be in mine.
I shared that first story to kind of lead into the next one for us. In a similar note, we get in ministry, our identity can be very much connected to the ministry and what we're doing. And for us, we've packed up and moved multiple places over the years. And Christy and I'd love to dive deep in relationship, and that's hard when you dive deep and then you like, either, whether your choice or not, you end up in a different ministry position somewhere else and you move off. So we've got great friendships all over the United States because we've been in all these different pockets. And so one of the big hard times we faced was, we were already in this rattled by, what does settling down look like? Well, we had resolved when I crossed the 20-year mark in ministry, we were at a church about an hour and a half from here where we currently are in Shreveport, and we were loving it. We had a big vision for where it was going to go and what we were going to do, and then realized pretty quickly this isn't going to work. We ran into some major hurdles and realized that ministry position wasn't going to work, and to the point where we feel like it was time for us to step out of that full-time ministry and step into a new season of life. And that became very difficult because for 20 years I had to wrap my identity in what I was doing versus who I was.
Right.
Yeah.
So that grounding, I think, into why I think even for me having that statement of purpose was like, okay, now that I'm not connected to this full-time gig of a ministry position, what is my purpose? What does that look like? And so facing that hard time, that difficult time was challenging. So our next kind of question here is, so life hits us hard. Sometimes we see it coming, oftentimes we don't. How do we remain true and steadfast when facing those adversity moments or setbacks? How do we stay true? How do we stay steadfast? Because everything in us, you may be different than I am, but everything in us either wants to run from it or hide from it, or just we get closed off. So how do we stay true and steadfast during those difficult moments? What do you think? Get mad. Scream, fight, kick.
I think, especially since we're talking about business, business and entrepreneurship and leadership, we connect to people through our weaknesses, but we lead through our strengths. And I think the hardest time when we're going through hard times is if you are dealing with depression or you are dealing with stuff, you can't come in the office and lead people with that fully. Like, you can be vulnerable, you can connect to people through that weakness, but a business is not going to thrive and follow if you lead through depression or fill in the blank. And so as leaders, we recognize that and we get embarrassed of our weaknesses, even though it actually is the thing that would connect us to people, and we hide it. And then our weaknesses get bigger and bigger and bigger because we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to face it. And at some point, crap hits the fan, or the change of staying there is more than the change of being there. Yeah. And we create these like two different lives. And so we see that so much in leadership. Yeah. And I think the burden of feeling like I have to solely rely on my strengths, I have to solely lead people through, my good front, through my face, or through what I want them to see. And I think that's a really difficult struggle in leadership, because the truth is you can't totally lead through what you're struggling with. And it's really hard to find that balance.
Tough balance of like, where am I leading through vulnerability and transparency and leading through having strength and, not letting my team think that I'm going to get down. So the balance of that is oftentimes it's forget about the struggle and pretend it's not happening. And that doesn't advance us really either, because the hard time, what's happening is very real. And so that's good. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add to that. That's kind of what I was thinking the whole time is just, I think really the only way to make it through those tough times is to be open and vulnerable and honest. And kind of like you were saying, Andy, with Christy, I mean, I lean on Jake so much for just, things that you don't really want to say to the public or maybe even your friends, but you can tell your spouse.
Yeah.
I think just having that support in, even if you're not married, just finding a friend or a family member or something to help you make it through those times, because truly some of the toughest moments in my life, I don't know how I would have gotten through without, the support of somebody that I was close to. But I think it's really important at least to be open and honest that you are struggling, and to be able to admit that and accept it so that you can move forward from it.
Yeah. The reality is we're going to face hard times. Things are going to get difficult in our businesses, in our organizations, in our families, in our marriages, whatever the context is. We're going to face difficult times. Hard times are coming. We're going to see some of them coming. Some of them are going to catch us off guard. But regardless, they're coming. So what we do with those hard times, that makes all the difference. So how do we stay? I think staying true and steadfast is realizing the good and the bad, neither one of those things define who we are.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
Realizing our identity isn't connected to the problem.
Right.
But how we respond will reveal our character and the nature of who we are. I love this analogy of the 4 seasons of spring, winter, summer, fall, the 4 seasons in relation to different stages and experiences of life. Because I find that this natural, cyclical order of things is very much, it applies to seasons of life. So just like the seasons that we face in the weather are very much similar to the seasons that we face in life. So just some notes here, and then I want to have some discussion about it. So spring, usually referring to a season of new beginnings or life. Summer, a season of growth. Fall, a season of transition. And winter, a season of waiting. So let's discuss these seasons of life a little bit. You know, what can we learn? We're talking about success, finding success in hard times. Hard times can hit in any of those seasons. So looking at those seasons, what can we learn during these different seasons when it comes to success in our life? So looking at the season of spring, summer, fall, winter, or really looking at them new beginnings, growth, transition, and waiting. We've all been through all those seasons. If you're listening, you've been through those seasons. You're probably right smack dab in the middle. You probably identify, I'm in this season of life, or I'm in between these seasons, feeling the pressure of both. So let's talk about these a little bit. What can we learn during these seasons? What do you think? How about we start with the spring, the new beginnings, the life season of spring. What can we learn during those seasons?
I think, I mean, here I am again being a grandma in my garden and just the things that get me excited. But I mean, that's what it immediately makes me think about is just the newness of everything. And sorry, I was trying to remember where I was going with that, but it just makes me think of that. And I think, you know, like it's so silly. I've sat here and been excited about, you know, broccoli growing, but that's really kind of, I think it is good to rejoice in those moments that are new. And like I said, just being very present minded of, you know, today's a good day or there is something new happening, and just recognizing, you know, it's not a bad day today, or it's not raining today, or, you know, whatever it is that's going on, whether that's, you know, literally or metaphorically. But I think it's just actually being happy in those moments and recognizing that.
You know, when I think about that spring, new beginnings, for a lot of people, for myself, I love new things. I love starting new things. I love the beginning of things. For some people, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like something new, having to go get a new job, starting a new career, going to a new church, being part of a new community, whatever that might be. New things are terrifying for some people when they think about new. So I think for all of us listening, whatever position we're in, what's good about new things is I think it challenges us. Like it pushes us outside of whatever we've been in.
Yeah.
Because
That's good.
we get into routines, and new things tend to break our routines.
Yeah.
And it creates a new version of yourself. Like as you're in a new environment, creating a new version of you. But I think in that spring season, I think of young, and I think people kind of fall into one of two boats, because the more you know, the less confident you are of what you know. So when you're new and something's new, sometimes you have an overconfidence in things.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother, he's 10 years younger than me. And I remember looking at him, he was like 21. And I was like, just enjoy thinking you know everything, because it is amazing. Like, do you remember feeling like I know everything? Like, that's a really good feeling. So in the spring season, if you're one of those ones that have that confidence, like that excitement and confidence, I think we can also like have humility in the back of our mind, but also enjoy it, because those seasons don't last forever.
Right.
And then if you're like me, where you're like, a little shaky there, it's, I'm really starting to embrace like being comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that is really how we grow. And I know summer's like a season of growth, but if in that spring season, that in that uncomfortability and that nervousness, if you're nervous for that first day of that new job, it's like, if I can be comfortable with being uncomfortable, I'm going to be better next time I'm in a new environment, or be better next time I have to talk to people that are intimidating or whatever. So I think that we all fall in those different boats of that spring and new season, but it's an exciting season. Yeah.
And in that season, you know, enjoy it. But there, you know, a lot of times even thinking through these different seasons, spring, you think of like all the pictures are of flowers and this exciting, vibrant feel to it. But realizing that sometimes that season also brings some difficult, hard times.
Yeah.
You know, you think of new life. You know, I've never given birth. Both of you have, and it's new life. But there's a lot of pain in the process. So sometimes doing new things brings with it a whole lot of pain. Now, I can imagine, I've been sick a few times, so I think I have a pretty good idea what those birth pains probably feel like, but but having that new life sometimes does come with its challenges as well. So in those seasons, we're, I think, focusing on the positive. So now let's look at the summer piece, the growth piece. What can we learn during the season of growth that we're in? What do you think?
Lean in. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep growing.
Growing also comes with pains, right?
Yeah.
So as you're growing, I'm in college, I did some weightlifting, and that was a very challenging season because I'd go to work out trying to get stronger and growing, and I felt like at the end of it, all I did was hurt all the time.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't seeing or feeling what I wanted to feel in the growth, but realizing, man, when I look at the big picture of it, from start to the finish, when we got to nationals, the amount of growth that took place, I wasn't feeling it every day. Every day what I felt was pain. And so I think enjoying the pain and the difficulty in the growth, I think that's what I love about growing. It stretches us, challenges us, having people around us who push us. I think that the growth season. So that's when I think about that growth. That's what I think about is the difficulty that it takes to get there.
Yeah.
But then the excitement on the back end. When you look back and say, "Wow, I didn't feel it day in, day out." When I look back where I was compared to where I am now, I've come a long way. So I think even for us, as we're looking at finding success in hard times, there's going to be some things we do in our life where it's like I'm in a season of growth, and that's not always comfortable.
Yeah.
We've been in uncomfortable circumstances in our growing phases quite a bit. If you're going to lead at a high level, it requires some uncomfortable growth, pushing us, having those hard. You ever had to have those real hard discussions with folks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and most of the time we want to avoid them.
No, I'll leave those to other people.
Pass that off to someone else.
I pass those off.
But I always, challenge people that, hey, if this is an opportunity for you to grow. If nothing else, you can look at the hard times and difficulty. It's a time to grow. Let's shift a little bit here now to the fall. Fall being a season of transition. What would you say, just thinking in your own life, the hard transitions, looking at your own journey that you've walked through? I know from all three of our stories, we've been through some challenging, different transitions. What did you learn through the transition in the seasons of life that you went through?
I think so Jake and I are nomads, kind of like you and Christy. I mean, really with thinking of season of transition, I think of change, and kind of the same with spring. Like Jake and I embrace change. We love change. We kind of thrive in change. I feel like we're always ready for a new adventure or something exciting. But I think really just building resilience. I think whenever you're thrown so many obstacles and you have to learn how to get through those, if you can really embrace that, it really grows a lot of character and resilience in you. That's just kind of what came to mind first, was just resilience, being able to push through.
That's good. What do you think?
I think when I say transition, I see like myself learning a different version of me. So when you're put into a different situation with maybe totally different personalities or totally different challenges or skills that maybe you need for that transition, it's like you unlock different levels of yourself. It's like, oh, I didn't have that ability, or I didn't have that skill before. So even though it's challenging and it's painful, we can realize like, man, I'm just unlocking different pieces that I didn't even know I had, or different skill sets, or trying out new things that maybe we didn't know we'd enjoy or like. So I think transition it's obviously terrible, right? Okay. But it's also wonderful in the sense that we are able to discover ourselves a little bit deeper and a little bit more, and see what we're capable of, and where we can push ourselves. Because you really, I mean, you guys, if y'all have moved, you have the opportunity almost every time you are in a new environment to reinvent yourself, to see who you were, how you want to be different, and to try some new things. So I think it's a time to reinvent.
I think for Christy and I, we're more comfortable, I think, with transitions than we are with steady and constant. You know,
Yeah.
like we're very good at transitioning, and that freaks a lot of people out. You know, so even for our listeners, as they're thinking about transitions in their own life, I have friends who it's like I've had this same job since I graduated high school. I think about my dad, who's been at the same business.
I don't even know about that life.
For
What
40 something years.
What is that life?
I don't even know. To be at the same job doing the same thing for 40 plus years, and I'm thinking, like, for me, I'm very comfortable with any kind of transition. I know what to do in the transitions. I'm almost more comfortable with that than I am anything else.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that season is very challenging, and so usually transitions happen in most people's lives because of hard times. We've all probably been in unique situations that those transitions aren't necessarily just because of those major drastic moments, but a lot of times transitions are because of the loss of a loved one, maybe a spouse passes away, maybe you lose a job, so you're transitioning. And if you're a person who doesn't like change, man, that can rattle your world just thinking about the chaos of that transition. So having that anchor to come back to. But learning through the transition, I love what you said there, Brinly, about you get to unlock some new things you may not have known about yourself. If you've been in the same flow for a long time, transitions, you'll learn a lot about yourself during those times. So I encourage you to embrace those moments, which leads us into that last season of waiting. Waiting. Not what a lot of people enjoy doing. It's just waiting. Probably one of the most difficult seasons. When I thought about this, wintertime is sometimes referred to as the season of death. That it's, things have died in coming out of the fall, and now it's just waiting for new life to begin.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we get very impatient in waiting on things. We're a fast-paced culture that loves things immediately and right now. I think we're all blessed that we grew up and kind of split between the super fast-paced, technology-driven life and growing up and things being a whole lot more slow in our childhood, so doesn't feel as chaotic. But I think about the kids of today, of how fast-paced they don't want to wait on anything. They want it instantly, because if they want an answer, you can get it right now.
Yep.
I've even tried to challenge myself that when someone asks me a question, that I don't immediately go to my phone, and try to answer it. Try to think it out. But that waiting is very difficult.
Yeah.
And so what does that feel like for you guys, you ladies, thinking about waiting? Like, what do you learn during the waiting season of life? What do you think?
I don't like waiting.
I don't think I
Just being honest.
I don't think I wait well. I think I'm like a door kicker, which
Yeah.
is not necessarily a good thing. But I'm like, okay, we're doing this. Okay, let's go. Like I'm trying to think of a season that I actually waited well, or at all. But that's not my season.
Not your
That's
your
not my
strength,
season. No.
I'm not. I love to. I'm a mover shaker, and I want to see things get done. And so in waiting, it feels like almost like being lazy in life. And we're limited on time in life. And so often, if it's a season of waiting, it's difficult because we're all people of faith. And so there's an element of a faith side to this where, like, I have everything Andy wants to do, but I want to wait upon the Lord and follow his lead versus me always trying to take lead. And that's very difficult to do. To patiently wait is very challenging. And maybe for our listeners, you find yourself in a season of waiting. You're like, I'm not sure what to do. Maybe you've been thinking through, or maybe you're a person of prayer, and you're like, I'm praying through this and not sure what action step to take. Sometimes that can be very exhausting. But I think the same thing applies. You learn a lot about yourself when you have to wait.
You do. I think when one plate you're waiting on, I just start spinning more.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Come back to that one.
Yeah, I'll be like, okay, that's on hold. Okay, what are we doing now? Like,
Yeah.
like we'll wait on that, but let's keep moving.
Right.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, because life doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
So you got to keep definitely keep moving. You can't just stop everything in a season of waiting for certain things.
Because it's not now for this plate, then what is it for these others? Like
Right.
maybe there's something else that our attention and focus can be on.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we can learn that in a waiting season. I know now it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. Being in a season of waiting and not really sure what my purpose was in that season because there were some no's in what I wanted. So I just leaned into these other plates and was able to see like purpose in that.
So next question here. We're going to wrap up with this one. So how do you maintain motivation and momentum during both the highs and lows? And what advice would you offer to anyone who maybe they're facing some challenges in life? So, maintaining motivation and momentum. How do we do that? So we've said, keep everything forward. But what does that practically look like for our listeners? If we're saying, hey, you've got this big problem you're facing, deal with it head on. What does that practically look like? What do you think? What would be some advice you'd give to those who are listening?
I don't want to be redundant, but at the same time, it's kind of what I've already said is from practically speaking, I think it's just having those meaningful relationships to be open and honest to whenever you're going through the high moments of your life for people to rejoice and celebrate with you and whatever those successes are. And then in the low times, being honest and saying, hey, this is not a good week. It's not a good day. This is what I'm facing right now. But I think you really have to have that community because, when I'm having a bad day, somebody else might be having a good day. And that was just the boost I needed to kind of make it through to the next thing. So, again, it's just what I think of every time with trying to keep going.
Yeah. Community, sharing the highs and the lows. What do you think?
I think trying to be a consistent and a healthy person in all seasons because your situations and your circumstances will be up and down and up and down, but who you are can be consistent and who you know you are and your health and all of the things. And when I say healthy, I mean mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, all of those, like really taking care of yourself. Those can be consistent in all seasons. And I think that helps us keep us grounded in those high seasons so we're not like full of ourselves. And I think it helps pull us up a little bit in those low seasons because we can take care of ourselves and find purpose. And again, celebrate those wins. That's a hard thing to do because I always have very high expectations. So even when something goes really well, I look at it, I'm like, but it wasn't well enough. Like I expect better of myself. And that's kind of my soundtrack. And I try to really say, let's just celebrate this. Maybe it's not where you want to be, but celebrate where you are because someone else is further behind than you are. Sometimes I think about that. I'm like I'm someone's story that they would be celebrating, even though I'm not that far ahead. There's people way far ahead than me. I can still celebrate where I'm at and be thankful for where I'm at.
Yeah. I feel like I need a C word here. So we have like community and then like consistency and celebration.
Clarity,
so I need
character.
a C word, just to go with it. What I do think of when I think of like a practical action step to take is regardless of what is happening, you need a plan. Mm-hmm. You need a plan. Because if we're just going to hope that it plays out how, then what typically happens is we push it off or it's going to take longer than we want it to take. So here we go. Create a plan. There's your C right there.
Creation. Creativity.
Create a plan.
Consistency. No, that's not one.
Because otherwise, if we don't plan, not that we have to follow that plan exactly, but when we start putting things down on paper, it creates an action oriented mentality of I've got to take some steps. I can't just sit in it. I'm gonna have to take some steps to get through it. And that first step may be, hey, I can't even think of what to do. Well, then you may only have one action step to take, and that's I need to go sit and talk with someone who can help me get through this. We are all advocates for sitting down, getting counseling if you need it, and even if you don't think you need it. Sometimes that helps in the moment of getting counseling. There you go. There's a C. I got it. Yeah. Sitting down with someone who says, hey, let me give you a different perspective, and it may help you put that plan together. Well, I think this has been some excellent discussion, kind of looking at the hard times, the difficulties we face, and when life smacks us in the face, what do we do with it? And how do we find success in that? And sometimes that's hard to do. It's hard to find the beauty in it. But I think having people around us who help remind us of it, I think understanding what our purpose and passions and callings are and reminding ourselves, putting that before us, I think is helpful to do. What we're going to do now, we're going to transition just into some rapid fire questions. We always have rapid fire, so today it's going to be a little bit different in our rapid fire. We're all going to take some turns asking the questions, but just maybe 30 seconds on each question at the most. And Brinly, why don't you kick us off with the first question?
Well, what do you guys love about your current season of life?
I think for me right now, this is a season of creativity. I'm able to really spend a lot of time creating new things, new systems, writing a lot of books, have a lot of different book projects in the works. And so it's really balancing all those avenues of creativity, but I'm loving it. It's such a fun season.
Yeah.
How for you?
I'm loving that we are wrapping up homeschooling for the year.
Yes.
So time to party.
Yeah.
No, just, yeah.
Broccoli party time.
Yeah, broccoli party. Roast. No, I'm just excited for a little bit of a change in our daily pace. So my girls are pretty much all done right now. So super exciting.
That's exciting. I'm just excited about it's been a season of transition for us for a while, and I've just been excited of all the little things I get to unlock and try out. And so it's been like a season of getting healthy and consistency, but also trying a lot of new things. And that's been really fun.
Awesome.
Okay. What is something you know now that you wish you knew when you were younger?
I think for me, I'm just kind of going here as first.
Yeah.
But,
Go for it.
I think for me, I wish I would have known how money works when I was 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah.
If I'd have known then what I know now about money and real estate and education and student loans and all that kind of stuff, life would be a whole lot different now if I'd have known this back then.
That's good.
What do you think?
I wish I would have known not to try to please everybody. I wish I would have known, like, just do whatever you want to do. Like, regardless of what anybody thinks about it, just do what you want to do. Don't worry about the opinion. I really am trying to instill that in my girls from a really young age, not to be a people pleaser. So, yeah.
That's good.
Mine's similar. I'd say for me, it's like, I wish I'd known just to be confident. Like if you could just take those spaces that you wish you, like those places that I wanted to do or those things that I wanted to try, I would be so nervous. And like, I wish I'd just be confident, just go for it because it's okay. Like it doesn't matter what people think. We don't have to please people.
Yeah.
So
That's good. All right, next question. Who invested in you the most over the years?
that's a tough one because I feel like whoever listens to this are going to be like, I invested a lot in you.
Well, we're going to find out if they're listening or not, you know?
My parents, my husband, my kids. Who else can I shout out?
This is like
Everyone.
the Brinly shout out.
No, yeah. I mean, my parents and my husband, I would
You
say.
just won an award. You're like, I'd like to thank
I cannot not say the three of those, but they have invested much into me.
It's good.
Yeah, I'd have to say my husband for sure. I mean, just a marriage it's work. It's so much fun, but it's also a lot of work and just another human being willing to put up with me every day and all my flaws and also to be there to celebrate all the good times. I'd for sure say Jake.
That's good. My wife, for sure, she's invested in a lot in me over the years and put up with a lot with me, which is a big investment. And then I had 4 men in my life for many, many years. Warren, Roy, James, and then another guy that he'd be mad if I mentioned his name on the podcast. So I won't. No, it's not him. But he's an attorney friend of mine. I want to say it anyway, Doug. So those 4 men that have invested in me through prayer and investment of mental investment, financial investment, spiritual investment. They've poured into me for many years. A few of them are no longer with us. But they were huge investors into me.
All right. This is the book time. What book or books would you recommend to our audience? We're going to see what y'all read. No.
Unlocking Money Secrets.
There you go. I know the author
Anything
of that
by
one.
Andy Coats,
Yes.
really.
Anything by Andy Coats.
Yeah, I would recommend that one. I think it's a good one. I had a good editor on that one. Unlocking Money Secrets. It's definitely a good one. I would also say one of the books that I've found to be most helpful in is communicating for change. So if you're in any kind of leadership or communication in any kind of way, it's a great resource. And then another one, which back here I have several of them on the shelf, but I think if I had to think about one John Maxwell book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is probably one of the more powerful leadership books that I'd recommend.
Yeah.
You took one of mine. I was like, okay, you better not take my second one. Communicate for Change was the one I was going to say.
Yeah.
Love that book. And then the other one would be Atomic Habits. It still hasn't totally sunk in yet. I've read it twice. I may need 4 or 5, 10 times before I really, really like get the habit thing down. But no, I really like that book. It's really good.
All right. So our last one, what is next for y'all?
For me, I would say next is I have I'm at the beginning of a lot of things and trying to refine a lot of processes from businesses to kind of where my career is heading off to. And I'm really on the author side. I'm loving the children's book authoring. I feel like I've found a niche that I'm really good at.
I would agree.
And as one
if I can just speak into that, I would
Shana
agree.
and I are, so Shana is one of my editors. She's become really one of my primary editor right now. We're working on a children's novel right now that we're going to pitch to a traditional publisher in the near future. And I've learned a lot through that process, and I think it's coming along really well for this. It'll be a 3-book series, and loving it right now. And so, yeah, that's what's next for me.
Exciting.
Well, hopefully I have a book with Ridgeline Publishing coming up soon. Ridgeline Publishing. Ridgeline.
Ridgeline.
Yes. Every time. Yes. No, I'm kidding.
Are you working on a book? We'll help you
No,
out.
I mean, I want you to write it for me, but
That's right.
that's what
I
I'm.
forgot.
I
I got
remember.
the editor here.
Us,
He's
us,
ready.
us do the work and you
But
put
put
your
my
name
name on it.
Okay.
Put my name on it.
That can happen for the right price.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Next for me, hopefully not a whole lot of things because we're kind of new on a lot of the things that we're doing. So started my business recently. I will be completing my master's soon. So there's a few things that are completing, but a lot of things are just beginning. So right now I'm going next week to a conference and I'm being trained in coaching and helping women preaching. So I'll be coaching some women and speaking and communicating. So that will be fun. And I'm excited to see just a lot of things. I think like you, just a lot of things at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I don't know about next, but right now just really fostering what's going on.
Awesome.
About for you.
Oh,
What's next?
what's next? I don't know.
Some cauliflower.
Yeah, a lot of
Zucchini?
vegetables, I guess.
A new van, hopefully. In
Yeah, a
the near,
new van.
Or a new
there we
vehicle
go.
of some kind.
That's next. Yeah.
And hopefully on the wagon helping me out here with all this editing.
Yes, definitely on board for that.
Well, I love it. You both have been great assets to this podcast. I love your insights. So hearing just some rapid fire, but also just some great insights today have been great. And this has been a wonderful episode.
Yes, a wonderful episode. Thank you, Shana, for joining us on the podcast again. You did amazing. It was so awesome to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to be sticking around just for a few minutes for some bonus behind-the-scene discussion for our Patreon members, where we talk about some lessons that we've learned during hard times. So if you want to hear that, you can join our Patreon Inner Circle, where you'll get that exclusive content from our weekly VIP discussions, just some questions that we have with our guests, and really some more roundtable discussion that we do have for our Patreon members. You can join us for $7 a month on Patreon at patreon.com/The Uncommon Success Podcast.
AKA the Cool Kids Club.
Cool Kids Club.
And yes, you can follow us on all of our platforms. Not 1, not 2, but 3. You can listen to us on Apple and Spotify. Or if you'd rather watch us, you can watch us on YouTube, but on our social medias as well. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. It helps us out a lot if you like, share, save, subscribe, all the things, review on the podcast, but please, please, please leave us comments. Let us know something funny that you heard this week or funny about Andy. We love hearing things that he said that you think were funny and we can make fun of him for. No, but like really tell us things that are speaking to you and maybe some things that you've learned so we can learn too.
Yeah, all that stuff does help us with the algorithm. So if you would get on there, and especially if you will just subscribe. Having those subscriptions really do help. So if you've been listening but you're not subscribed, please do that for us. Thanks again to our incredible co-host today, Shana. Thanks for joining us. We'll have you back next time Brinly decides to take a 4-week sabbatical again. She's got one coming up, I think. We've been about 4 or 5 weeks, and it's time for her 4 or 5 weeks off.
My month break.
Yep.
And, so when she takes that month break this summer, we may reach out to you to help us out.
Sounds good.
But join us next week as we discuss more about marketing and promotion.
Ooh, I like that. I am looking forward to that episode. But who's coming?
Brinly, I don't share that. That was released one time. My wife released that information, and that guest had to reschedule. So we're not releasing any information out there, but that's what we talk about.
Could we call Christy in here to come tell us?
No, she's busy right now. But it has been a great episode. And so, yeah, it's going to be an awesome next week. So please join us for that.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. It was wonderful spending time with you all today.
Yeah. Have a great week. See ya. Thank you for joining us on the Uncommon Success Podcast, where your commitment to growth fuels our passion to create more content. Special thanks to our executive producer, Jess Camp, and our technical director, Stephen Posey. We're excited about our episode next week and hope you would tune in to join us as we work together to continue our journey towards success. See you next time. Have a great week.